Christchurch Town Hall. Right, Mary, can I start with you?
Okay, thank you very much. As Council will be aware, since these issues have been identified around the Town Hall, the Mayor and Councillors have asked a number of questions and sought surety around a number of things around the Town Hall. This is absolutely understandable, and we wouldn't expect anything else in these circumstances. We have responded to those questions through the Finance and Performance Committee and also through workshops, but I did want to recap on some of those things again today, just to actually reconfirm the questions and the responses we've made to that. So first of all, the Council wanted surety around the programme and the opening. That you asked to be able to give the public and users confidence around when the Town Hall would be open and whether or not the events could go ahead. So in response to that, the project team have confirmed the programme with the facility opening in stages and no bookings are being cancelled. That has involved a detailed analysis of the programme with the Hawkins team and the project team. They've met with Hawkins the head of Hawkins on site to actually also give confidence that the Hawkins team can deliver on that. So therefore, as the report says, the Town Hall will be open for the concert, the auditorium will be open for the concert of Shapeshifter on the 1st of March, and there will be a public opening before that to allow the public to reconnect with this building and actually visit again. The other thing councillors asked and wanted confirmation on was a very understandable question about the project controls, about what was in place to make sure this doesn't happen again in this project. So you will remember that Council requested tighter controls back in May. It was those controls that actually allowed us to identify the issues and deal with them this time round. We identified them quickly and put new systems in place. So as you were made aware, there's been significant changes to the governance of this project, to also the management. So we have brought in a new project director, and the Tūranga team has actually been redeployed onto this project as well. We've also, the project director has established and set up an establishment team to make sure that the actual establishment and commissioning of the building also runs smoothly, and we have a much higher level of reporting. Alongside that, the team have also responded by putting internal QS in to review the financial reports of the commercial manager. The project director has actually reviewed line by line that cost report, and we've actually put in an executive level sign-off on all CEs. We have also just recently, because of the councillors wanting further assurances and further confidence, the team has commissioned an independent review of the cost report. So an independent review of Rawlinson's by Rawlinson's to check the work of our other QS, which has come back to give again us more confidence. The councillors have also asked over the last few weeks to make sure that every stakeholder is actually lined up on this. So V-Base, Council, CSO and other stakeholders that are kept informed. So in response to this, the team have put in a new structure in place, and I touched on that before, the establishment team, which is led by our project managers and Octa, but also has the V-Base team involved in that establishment, and also established a new comms and events team to make sure across the communications we have Council, V-Base, CSO lined up on their communications. Lastly, the councillors wanted assurances around where this funding was going to be found. And as the report says that this funding is going to be found across the capital program. The council has made it very clear that they do not want this to have a rate impact, and so as the report says, that across the multi-year capital program, we will be looking to actually find the savings. We have already started that work, and the finance team at council have looked across that, as have all capital programs and units. The savings have been identified initially from projects that have come in under budget, and you'll be aware of some of those, Tūranga, Taiora. But also we will be looking across the program, and actually we will be reporting back to council in the new finance and performance committee of the whole, because one thing you asked for is you wanted to know that this wasn't going to impact on any other project. So we will actually, you will have assurances, and you will get to decide and confirm where those savings are found from. So those were the key questions that you have asked over the last few weeks as you were made aware of this situation, and the responses we have given you and also put in place in response to what you've requested. So you may have other questions you want to ask today, but hopefully we have traversed most of these issues and met most of your concerns over the last fortnight.
Yeah, I'm just going to start with RAF, because of course the new Finance and Performance Committee that has the new terms of reference and is now a committee of the whole will be chaired by RAF. So could I start with you?
Yeah. Thanks. You mentioned you met with the Hawkins manager. What level of assurance do you have from them about their ability to finish the project and manage the contract, which is a collaborative contract, around their claims? And what level of assurance around the outstanding claims do you have that they're going to be resolved within the budgets that we've got here?
So firstly, with regards to the programme, that we've got an accepted programme, which is an agreement under the formal contract, which is the first since May, which is it's a great achievement, to be quite honest. With regards to the compensation events, they're a work in progress at the moment with regards to how we, because we've got an accepted programme, a lot of the compensation events that are in play regarding extension of time claims, etc.
Can I interrupt? Because, you know, plain language is probably called for here. Conservation event sounds like, a conversation event sounds like something you might do over a cup of tea.
Invoices that haven't been agreed.
Correct, right.
It's a variation to the contract in essence. So the variations are becoming null and void to a degree because of the accepted programme. So it's a piece of work that's in play right now. Obviously, we got a confirmed accepted programme 2 weeks ago, and we're now in that position to work through those each of those variations, if you will. So we're in a lot better position, and that piece of work's underway. So surety will come in the new year as we progress those conversations with Hawkins. The fact that Hawkins management came down to see us was a really solid point of view perspective, if you will, and the fact that they walked through the project with the team and then met with us afterwards to discuss our concerns and the concerns of council regarding delivery, and the fact that they've put themselves in the room and put together an independent team of their own to review the programme with our independent team to review the programme to come up with an accepted programme is a very positive move forward, and it is part and parcel of that collaboration process that's in place under the NEC3 contract.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Glenn, Tom?
Thank you for this. Just on 4.3 in the report, some of the construction challenges were underestimated in the original projects, and they listed there the roof replacements and rebuild of the Feria fountain, ponds, plant and equipment. So I know for councillors at the time when we gave approval to the project, it was the unseen which seemed to be giving the most cause for concern, being the foundation. So I'm curious as to how these costs could have been estimated given their visibility, their little visibility.
So in answer to if I just answer the roof question in particular, is that when we're doing repair works to a copper roof, and the copper substrate is where the impact has been. So not the copper itself, but the thing that it sits upon is the issue. So when we go back and have to strip out the substrate because of the damage to that substrate, that's been so it's water ingress into the substrate that's caused the problem with regards to that. And again, it's an unforeseen. You're not going to be able to see that until you start to peel back the layers of the onion, if you will. With regard to Ferrier, the Ferrier fountain in particular, its particular costs are down to the fact that we're upgrading a facility that's a 1970s facility to a 2000 facility, and it required a substantial amount of work to bring it back up to code, and that's the reason why the costs have been accrued for that particular piece of work.
Okay, and the recommendation today is for an extra 15 million, and 3.2 says issues concerning the finances and program was subsequently exposed as a result of the new controls which we wanted. So are you inferring that if we hadn't intervened at that point that they would have been much greater?
Absolutely. If some of those things had not been put in place, we wouldn't have been alerted as early as we were.
Right, so we would have been faced with a bigger bill.
Or we may have not got a
Or
program
not have an agreed
across the line
program,
in
which
time
would have been
for
weird.
the first event. So we got early warnings with those systems and all those controls, and were able to put things in place.
Okay, thank you.
Tim.
Thank you. I guess this is kind of like the two things, process and the product. But looking at the process, we've got the Metro Sports Facility and the multi-use arena coming. Tooronga, the library was a very good example. The Town Hall's process has been an issue. But do we have assurance from our teams, yourselves, that the lessons learnt with this are going to be at the forefront for those other two projects?
Yep. I was going to say QE2 was also a great project as
true,
well.
sorry. Yep.
Pretty much, if you look at the portfolio, this is the one.
And Litchfield is
the one problem we've had and it's regards the post-quake compromise structure and the unknowns that were buried within the structure of the building. So in essence, new builds, yes, absolutely fine. But yes, the lessons learnt are already being adapted right through the unit, through the procurement process, through the legal process, and even the way that we deal with forms of contract as well. So all issues that we face across all of our portfolio delivery, we've instigated and implemented changes across our future projects, if you will. So.
Because it's not just council. For those other projects, we will have partners, and it's giving assurance of to those as well with regards to stability and belief.
So we've documented all of the lessons learnt that we've had today, and how those lessons learnt have been implemented across council. So again, we've documented that for that reason, so that we can go back and prove that we've actually put these changes in place.
Okay, thank you, Alice. The second question, with regards to 4.41, the James Hay Theatre conversion to full theatre service. Technically, the James Hay Theatre has been a theatre with the curtain and fly floor since '72. Why the conversion to full theatre? Because I realise that the fly floor mechanism which was put in there would not be able, irrelevant whether we had the earthquake or not, would have had to be replaced because of the fact that the design was technically with health and safety was unworkable, and there would have been a major refit in that because it was designed as it was to fit the space. So I'm just interested in why conversion to full theatre service is the terminology.
James Hay in particular has probably gone through the biggest improvement. So its cross-functionality is unbelievable. It's got, you can do a full orchestra in there to a degree. You can do a single person playing a violin on the stage. You can do all sorts of forms of theatre. And again, through the improvement of the acoustics as well, we've balanced the system, changed the seating arrangements by putting in more fly screens with fly screens and fly tower improvements. We've increased the usability of that particular building, so that's why the changes have been made.
Thank you.
Dion.
I just wanted to ask a question around 4.4.2. The additional earthquake strengthening work to James Hay following the 2016 earthquake. What was needed there? Was that earthquake damage, or was it stuff that wasn't initially thought about?
Yeah, no, it's further earthquake damage at that point.
And so why was that not insurable?
It was covered under insurance, so it would have been a claim. So it's an additional sum that had to be put against the building, that's all.
Say that again. So I mean, is it actually a cost that's been incurred in the budget blowout, the 963, or is it been recovered by some sort of building insurance or something?
I'd have to really dig into the detail to come back to you with that.
Okay.
And I can do.
So that you'll come back with a specific answer on
clear
that.
response on that. It's an insurance question, it's earthquake
It may
damage,
well
so-
be that some of these costs, you know, we don't actually know what the final cost will be, so we've put an upper limit on
Yeah,
that.
I know, but I just, you know, if it's earthquake damage, I want to sort of have a bit more of a better understanding about
Earthquake
exactly what.
strengthening isn't always covered by
No, I
an
get that,
earthquake damage claim.
but it was
Yeah.
following the 2016 earthquake, so I
It's
just want
whether
to
that was
understand.
offset by some revenue coming.
Yeah, that's the
what you
question.
just want
Yeah.
to know, so-
And another question around the CSO cost. What was the initial budget for the CSO?
7.7.
So the initial budget was 7.7 and that's now at about 11.1.
Yes.
But it was over 12 for a brand new building to go into the performing arts precinct, as I recall. I mean, I'm pulling a number out of the air, but my memory was that it was more that we were going to spend by putting it in the performing arts precinct than still we've ended up paying for it in this.
It's not
Then
really
there
facility.
was also 1 point something in for the Cambridge room anyway, so that wasn't spent because of the CSO.
That's right, yeah.
So the saving is kind of, the saving that we were going to get there is kind of been eroded.
It has been eroded, absolutely, yeah. Yep.
And, sorry, I just got one
no,
other
that's
question.
right.
Sorry, around the in the resolution around taking from existing capital program. Obviously, that's not going to impact rates, but and you've already kind of answered it. But can we be absolutely assured that there's not going to be any projects that are going to be delayed because of this? Because one of the things that is affecting a lot of our communities is that projects get delayed because of different reasons, and I really don't want to see that happen any further with a big project like this happening, and we're looking at other, you know, taking that money from budgets. We can't have any more projects being delayed.
So if projects are going to be delayed, that would be a decision of council in the finance and performance committee of the whole.
So
So
we
no project would be delayed.
See
without a
resolution
decision by
4?
council.
Yeah, I'm seeing
Yeah.
that. So obviously, there. Yeah, okay. So we can't get that assurance at this point in time, then.
So that would be a decision of council. There may be some projects that are already delayed that money could be used for this in the intervening years, but actually no project would be delayed because of this without your agreement, without your resolution.
And so that's basically putting this back onto us ultimately.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to improve, or if we actually wanted to do those projects at that time, we'd have to borrow more, which would then have an impact on rates.
Or we'd have to find the money elsewhere in the
Oh
program.
gosh, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
That's not the ideal position to be in,
none
is
of this is ideal.
No.
So, you know, but I appreciate the effort that people have gone to answer all the questions that people have asked. Jimmy?
Thank you. I'm not sure whether can explain that if we review the paragraph 1 in here, staff recommendation $50 million, also review the paragraph 4.6 here, $11.6 million. That's a two separate issues, or it's the same issue?
That's the inclusion of the 11.6 into the 152, so that was the agreement in May.
Yes.
The figure.
So in 4.6, the 11.6 is the figure that was approved in May, which got us to the number of 152. So that's just the number that was included in the May resolution.
Yeah, but that's separate from this one.
Yep.
This
Yes.
is
This is a
additional.
third.
Yes.
Okay, if this is additional, but regarding to the staff recommendation, paragraph 3, my question is what's the rationale, you know? This is within the existing capital program, but will not impact on rates. Whether the existing capital program to change the scope, or maybe to adjust amendment their priority.
That's what we just
Yes.
asked. If you read recommendation 4,
Yes.
it makes it clear that there is no authority being given to delay or rescope projects beyond current delegations, and if there are changes that would be required, they're to come back to the Finance and Performance Committee. So a full report on where the savings are to be found will be reported back to Finance and Performance, which everyone will be a member of.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Pauline.
Yeah, just wondering, with all these improvements and strengthening, what is the life of the building once it's finished? Would we consider it to be the equivalent of a new building?
Yeah, it's 100%. It'll achieve 100% NBS, so new building standards. So
Yeah,
its lifespan is now increased substantially because of that strengthening of that building. So
what was its life expectancy when it was built? Was it 50 years?
I'd say more than that, to be honest. It's probably it's in the region of 75 years plus, I'd say, to be honest.
That
now.
would be now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just one question, because you know, a lot of attention has obviously been drawn to this, and it's a shame, because I know that when people walk into the town hall next year, they're just going to be so pleased to have it back, a world-class facility. So, but I'll save that for my comments. That, you know, I wouldn't have any line of sight on whether the convention centre has had similar cost blowouts. I mean, I just wouldn't know. You know, the fact that this is all in the public arena focuses on this project over and above all the projects that have come under budget, I have to say, but also the, you know, what's happening with that particular project. And I wouldn't have a clue. And I know I'm not asking you to answer a question about something that you can't possibly know, but it must be that with projects of this scale and in this kind of location, that it would have cost even more to build a brand new auditorium than it would have cost to, even with the extended costs that we're being asked to approve today. It would have cost much more to build an equivalent auditorium, and we still wouldn't have had the world-class status that we've got with the town hall.
So the look at auditoriums across the world that we've done is significantly more money than this, and you only need to look at also what the convention centre for their auditorium and meeting room compared to the town hall, significantly more money. And also the original costings that were put up to council showed that a new build was significantly more money. But these two know a lot more about building than I do, so I'm only relying on what I've read and researched. So,
well, some of the early work we've done with acoustics experts around the CMUA of the multi-use arena already. I mean, I've had this conversation with Rob Hall from Marshall Day, who's the acoustics professionals we're using for both the town hall and the CMUA, and they've already said that anything would be around 350 to 400 million, and they're working across 3 projects now internationally, and they're between 450 and 900 million for a similar size facility. So it gives you an indication of the costs of these buildings across the world and what they cost. And I know for a fact, I think one of the theatres in auditoriums in London was around about 500 million, and that's pounds. So
right. So the reinstating what we already had, even though the cost has gone up and perhaps it wasn't properly costed right at the get-go, it is still below what a brand new building would have cost being built on the other side of the river.
yeah, for sure. Yes.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, well, I'm not going to say I'm happy to move the resolution, but I'll move the resolution. Seconded by Tim. I'll open it up for debate. Pauline, Tim, Glenn.
Yeah, look, I'm going to support this today. There's several reasons, but one of them is because if we didn't support it, I don't know what would happen then. Look, this was classed as a repair, but because it's included such a large number of significant improvements, such as the James Hay, which is especially relevant there, improved functionality to the auditorium, the kitchen function room upgraded, it's far more fit for purpose. And as a result, we're going to have a much more robust, usable, accessible, hireable, in-demand building, and virtually a new building with, as we've just heard, a life of 75 to 80 years. I consider this town hall as a key anchor building for our city. Every city needs a town hall. We've always been really proud of our town hall. It's got international acclaim. This is a no-brainer for me. And look, if sadly some other projects may be delayed slightly in order to fund this, well, I still see the town hall as a priority spend, so that we know that the total cost is going to be of this repair is coming in far cheaper than it would be if we built a new building, which would probably be 500 million or more. So to me, yes, it's probably a result of being under budgeted in the first place. However, to probably cost a sort of repair is incredibly challenging, so you know, we will find that out in a review next year. So today I'm supporting this.
Tim?
Thank you. Look, I could go on like my colleague with regards to the improvements of the entire building. The James Hay, as I talked with before, outstanding. The old Boaters, which is now the Avon room, which never quite worked but will work now. The Limes room, the convention, the meeting room, which was never soundproofed when you tried to divide it, which will be now. And we could go on and on. But what I really want to concentrate on is the auditorium. If we spent $400 million or even more to build a new building, there is absolutely no way I believe that we would be now talking about one of the top 10 acoustic rooms in the world. And I will, if you'll indulge me, the other 9, 6 of which are in Europe, 1 and only 1 in North America. Really think about the cities and the Philharmonic, etc. in the North America. 1 in South America and 1 in Asia. They're Lucerne, Switzerland, Boston, America, Manchester, United Kingdom, Vienna, Austria, Berlin, Germany, Paris, France, Leyte, Finland, Toyota, Japan, and Sao Paulo, Brazil, and little old Christchurch. It is absolutely outstanding. The real special thing about this, though, is Kiwi ingenuity. It was Kiwis that designed and built this. And a few days prior to its opening in 1972, they got 2,000 people into the auditorium, and the sound specialist, the audio specialist, got a World War I 45 caliber pistol and fired it to get the soundings. I mean, it is Kiwi ingenuity, which is at the top 10 of the 10 most respected rooms in the world.
How many people got out?
1,999. I also would like to quote from a very respected sound specialist. The town hall was the first room to be designed using the sound from the sides theory, and it's renowned for its good acoustics. After the Christchurch Town Hall, rooms designed to promote good lateral reflections have all met with success. It was groundbreaking, it still is, and on that I think we have to support it. So I will be supporting this. It is an absolute pleasure. It has been a journey, and as I said before, the process separate from the product I think is essential. So I am going to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn?
Thank you. I've always supported this restoration project from the beginning, and I had hopes with the initial report, which many of us saw as a good report, that notwithstanding it would be delivered within reasonable thereabouts of the parameters at the time, but obviously it isn't and has been over time and cost. And many will say that not many projects are, but one that was Toyota QE2. And what happened there was that project was kept closely to the chests of the community board. So over that, we pushed hard over everything from ground remediation, finding alternatives to disposal of the asbestos, to the tilting floor in the complex as well, and we made cost savings. And perhaps there's something in that for us as a council that we haven't kept this to our chests here. What I will say, and I'm not going to be popular around the lunchroom for this, is that I think actually, yes, it is a tremendous facility. It's you know, your soul surges to go in there, but my point here is I think there's actually a false equivalence in saying that we, with the blowout costs included, it's cheaper than anything brand new. You could take that argument, that's fine, but this is still a blowout, and we have to accept that. Nevertheless, I'm going to support this through gritted teeth, because we just have to get it done. Thanks.
I've got Mike, Jamie, Aaron.
Thank you. Look, I think we're all aware that the process around this has gone terribly wrong, and obviously also once it is completed we are going to get you know, the true iconic building back in Christchurch, so I won't go into that part of the debate, but I do want to focus around obviously where the $15 million is coming from, and it's good that it's not going to have a rates impact, but it is going to affect the capital program, and the detail of that is missing because it's going to be, that decision is actually going to sit with us. And while there's going to be savings from some of the completed projects, other projects are at risk, and I'm concerned that that is actually going to be felt at the community level. I know during the long-term plan there were a lot of community groups that spoke to us wanting help with community facilities, and we're in the process obviously of commissioning a community facilities network plan, and I just can't see how moving forward with, we agree to the $15 million, how anything like that is going to get off the ground. It's actually going to become a battle to save what we currently have on the long-term plan as we look to find savings across the board, so it doesn't have a rates impact. However, a no vote today is a vote for what? To down tools and leave the town hall almost complete. That would be an absolute waste of ratepayers' money. Just crazy, so I will be supporting the resolution.
Okay, Jamie.
Thanks. I think it's fair to say that my views and warnings around the project have been pretty well documented. I think it's totally unfair to say that a new build would cost more in the absence of design and costings. The only thing you can say with confidence is that a new build generally provides significantly more certainty than a reinstatement. I took a lot of flack at the time when I took the stance that I did, but it was done to try and avoid this exact situation. Very reluctantly, however, I will accept most of the recommendations in front of us, because the alternative of stopping the work and not being able to complete the project is obviously a far worse outcome. The opening of this iconic facility will, however, provide a real boost for Christchurch, and we will all be looking forward to seeing this venue well utilised once again. What I won't be accepting is recommendation 2, which reads that the exact cost of the Town Hall project will not be known until project completion and close out of the financial accounts. To suggest that it's okay to not know what the final price will be is inconceivable and totally unacceptable, and because of that it won't have my support, and I'd ask that recommendation 2 be put separately, please. I have a development underway currently and our contingency is 5%, which obviously includes inflation, and I'll be very surprised if we use half of that. We know the Town Hall project is already over and above 40% of that original budget, opening in another year, and that includes an exhausted, generous contingency. But I'm supportive of the benefits that come from the finished product, and Tim talked about not confusing the outcome with the process, and I do agree with those sentiments. The outcome of the completed venue, designed by the great Sir Miles Warren and the late great Maurice Marnie, will ensure that fond memories that multiple generations of Cantabrians have will continue, and we will see a tangible benefit in the city and surrounding businesses once the facility opens its doors. So my vote against the restoration was not around the outcome, but entirely around the process, and my vote against recommendation 2, that we're comfortable to not know the exact project cost until it's finally finished, just is not going to fly. But with that, I think I will leave it there.
Aaron.
Yeah, so I totally agree this will be once again a world-class facility. The Christchurch Town Hall is an amazing space and will be celebrated for years to come, and we'll all go to great events there. That said, I didn't vote for the last increase in this. I was very supportive earlier on when this project was finally started to restore the town hall. Jamie made the point about the contingency. There was a massive contingency put into this project and many others, and that's the point I want to make today, is that I think the people of Christchurch and the rest of New Zealand that are helping with the rebuild are sick of this. They're sick of hearing about the costs that go into some of these projects and then the blowouts. And I think they believe it's out of control. Maybe the odd one doesn't, but probably not the 2 Maseratis being sold a week. The people on the receiving end of that in Christchurch are pretty happy. But the rest of us that are picking up the bill and paying 5.5% rates increases every year are not that happy about it. I hope that the process going forward for this is that there's actually a proper audit into what's happened here, and an audit done where there's someone from the building industry sitting in on it, double checking the numbers and how the money was spent. It's not what we're spending the money on, it's how we spend it. And that's where the entire rebuild of Christchurch, I believe, has got out of control. There's a lot of parts of the rebuild where the numbers are just phenomenal. And we sit around this table and most of the budgets we have are missing 3 zeros. They're missing 3 zeros because the paper isn't big enough to fit them in. That's the size of the rebuild. It's crazy. And so there needs to be an absolute lens put on this. I'm actually not going to vote for it because I'm drawing a line in the sand to say enough is enough. There's other really major projects still coming up in the city, and I think it's unacceptable for the people of Christchurch to think that this table can sit round here and sign off increases of $15 million with literally weeks to go on a rebuild. It's not fair on the ratepayers of Christchurch and the taxpayers of New Zealand. I'll be more unpopular than you, Glenn.
Dion.
And there's no question that this will be an amazing facility once it is completed, and we have absolute assurances on those dates that it's going to be completed, which is good confidence. And I do look back to when we went into the town hall. I think it was July last year, and we had the Christ College playing the little band thing in there. That was actually really cool. And even then it sounded really great. It was a bit echoey because there was not a lot of people and not a lot of stuff in there, but you could really get a feel for how you know, that facility and that will actually really liven the city. In saying that, I have some major reservations around what's happened and where it's gone. And I really can't stomach the thought of having to make a decision next year around delaying some projects in the city, around other projects that communities are fighting for, and we fight for them in long-term plan time, and communities go, well, actually, you know, we've been waiting 2 years and now it's going to be delayed another year, and all those kind of things. I really can't stomach that conversation next year, and that's going to be really, really challenging, and I don't think that's going to be very fair for some communities. The other issue around the oversight of this, I just look at the paper, and I've gone back and read all the other papers in the original paper from when it was the decision. Now, I know I wasn't part of the original decision-making process, and there was probably a lot more there, but I really do have some real big question marks over that, and as was said, I really do want to see this audited properly so that we can actually really learn and understand what's happened, actually. The understanding is the big part, because we have some big projects still to go, and we can't have this happen again. Absolutely not. We can't keep sort of accepting this and making that go. So for this very reason, I will abstain from voting on this, because I can't vote for it. I can't not vote against it, because I understand the repercussions of not doing it.
Anyone else? I'll put Yanni.
So interesting, just last week we got media inquiries about closing the Gaiety to do the maintenance on it after we'd just spent a whole bunch of money repairing it. I think in terms of our heritage, when we do open these buildings up and do the earthquake repairs, it absolutely makes sense to fix some of the deferred maintenance at the same time, or take the time we've got the building closed to make the improvements necessary. So I understand that. I think the concern, I mean, I really have concern over the way in which projects are able to increase in scope without elected members being able to sign off on it. And I think that's got to be one of the main learnings from this. You know, just previously today, we've had a discussion about a project that we've got money on budget that engagement's underway on, but we haven't actually signed off the scope of it. And so I think we do need to improve around our governance of projects. And I think, you know, we really do need, and I'm sure as part of this, there will be work done in that space, whatever form it takes. How can we get better governance as elected members over these major projects? And I think, you know, the new committee is obviously a way in which some of that is going to happen. I just think it's absolutely essential. You know, I've been a strong supporter of the town hall getting repaired rather than a brand new building. No one's really talked about the cost of knocking down in terms of our environment, but actually it would have been absolutely significant, the environmental cost of knocking down a building such as the size and scale of the town hall versus building new as well was something that certainly weighed on my initial support for it. I expressed concern at the time that the CSO facility was added, and you know, I think that's come to bear. But the choice now is voting against it is that, as has been said, we end up with a building that's not complete. It'll be like one of those airports over in the middle of somewhere that's, you know, just sitting there derelict, vacant, not being done. I think we do have to agree to this today, and you know, there's no satisfaction in doing that. But actually, we need to get this building open and used by our community, who have borne the cost of not having a facility for so many years. The other thing is that, you know, this also to me raises a question of insurance in New Zealand, you know, and our insurance settlement. You know, if we find major damage or things that are costing more than what we've settled on, that puts us in a really difficult situation. That's always going to be the risk of doing a global settlement, and it was always going to be a risk in terms of understanding what your insurance policy is. But, you know, we've got similar issues with our social housing, for example, and it's really, really important in terms of our insurance going forward that we ensure that we have processes in place to ensure that we get fully what we're entitled to, and ways in which things, when they escalate, can be addressed. But, you know, at the end of the day, the town hall is going to be a magnificent facility when it's reopened. The community have missed out on these facilities and have actually had a huge cost having to book alternative places. So I support this, but I think it's really good to get the governance review.
Thank you. Andrew.
Thank you. I've always been a big supporter of this town hall project, and I'm proud to be part of the council that made the final decision to proceed with a repair rather than what otherwise would have been a demolition of one of Christchurch's iconic buildings. And we can now be confident that this will continue to be one of Christchurch's defining features well into the future, with all of the attributes that have been well canvassed as part of this debate. The CSO, obviously that was an additional budget, which was added, and we made a decision to add that as we went through the project. I've talked a lot about the need, having spent what we spent on this building, to activate it, to see it activated multiple times a day, 365 days a year. And having the CSO there is not only going to be a great activator for this building, but also represents a great opportunity for another of Christchurch's icons, which is our symphony orchestra. What would be unacceptable to me, and I'm surprised to hear people talking about it today, would be not to approve what unfortunately is an additional amount of funding in order to complete the job that we were brave enough to commit to start. To not put the funding into this, to see it finished and to see it open and to see the benefits realised for the city, in my view, would be an absolute travesty. And I think in looking at the size of the additional amount that we're approving today, we also need to consider the size of the project. This is a heritage building, and we know from our experiences with other heritage buildings in the city how difficult the repair of a heritage building can be. It's a large heritage building, it's a significant heritage building, and having been through there, I see how the heritage aspects of this building have been preserved and enhanced. But not only have we repaired a heritage building, we've repaired the ground underneath that building. We've essentially recreated the ground under that building with that building still in place. So this is a project of not only unprecedented size for New Zealand, but unprecedented complication for New Zealand. Is it a surprise that we're looking at an increased cost? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, maybe it shouldn't be, but that's where we've got to. Have we got the right controls in place now that we know what we know to see this project completed and to look at a closeout report on this and learn from that as well. Yes, I believe that we've got those good controls in place now, and I believe that when we as elected members became aware of the cost escalation situation, we took steps to get good oversight of this through the Finance and Performance Committee, and also we've looked at other projects by way of closeout reports, QE2, Lichfield Car Park, both of which were on time and on budget. So, you know, this is this isn't an example of every project we've worked on has been over budget and hasn't worked so well. This is actually an exception. Turanga, another example of an amazing project on time and on budget. I believe we've done the responsible thing with this. The responsibility that we've now got is to complete the job that we were brave enough to start. So I really would like to see this supported so that we can do the right thing, get this finished, get it open and enjoy it for the foreseeable future. Anyone else? Jimmy?
I think at the moment we need to remediate this kind of project because although we review this kind of star recommendation, probably one is the project management, that's a problem. The other one is the cost, project cost. It's not fully under control management. But if we are not go ahead, we'll have another bigger potential reverse effect. One is probably this city, top 10 is the iconic, famous, significant the beauty there, or whether have some other effect, reverse effect. I'm not sure. Maybe in that time, probably need to spend more money, more kind of time to remediate, more getting worse the situation. So we need to review this kind of two situation. So in here, even we are reluctant because there's a process that's wrong. But we still need to face the fact, face reality. We try to mitigate, reduce those the reverse effect, try to minimize it. So even I'm reluctant, but to me, regard to this situation, I'm still support the original the recommendation.
Anne?
This building is worth it. None of us want to be in this position, but it is worth it. It's an example of the distinctive form of architecture created by the partnership of Miles Warren and Morris Marnie, and it's one of the highlights actually of the modernist architecture style in New Zealand. So we have the potential for this building to become a wee bit like the Sydney Opera House, an icon that is associated with this city, as well as being a world-class venue for the CSO, and also it's our town hall. A town hall is a place where we gather together as a community, and I believe it's absolutely worth this investment. So I'll be supporting.
Right, I'll just close off the debate. So, you know, sitting as a cabinet minister when a capital project goes over budget involves often a very direct conversation with the Prime Minister. Fortunately, I was never in that position myself. But all of the discussions that take place in relation to that matter take place in cabinet committees and around the cabinet table, and are ultimately reported when they are reviewed by an external audit of a particular project. I'm really proud of the fact that from May till now, we've been able to grapple with this situation as a mature council in a public debate about the challenges that this project has uncovered, or the new project team have uncovered. And if there was anything that I learnt from the May paper, it was not to do that in a PX environment. And I think the fact that we've been able to bring this to the fore and to really debate this in a mature manner, nobody around the table is happy with the costings and how they have been unravelled, and really unhappy about the process as a whole. And I don't think a steely stare from the Mayor is quite as effective as a steely stare from the former Prime Minister that I served under. But I know that the organisation has heard our disappointment and have responded to our request back in May for this project to be taken control of, and to give us some reassurance about the reopening program, which must happen, because people have been awaiting this a very long time. Commitments have been made, bookings have been made. It is going to be the most stunning place. And I know that I spoke to somebody recently who was a naysayer for the project itself, didn't think that we should do this, who went for a tour through the premises just recently, and he said to me, he said, it is amazing. People, I completely have revoked my previous position. I'm now completely in favour of what you've done. It is going to make such a huge difference to our city. So at the same time as wanting to sort of publicly state every single one of the councillors their concern about the way things have happened, there is, I think, a real now looking forward to getting this wonderful facility open and for everyone to be able to enjoy it again. So on that note, I shall put the motion.
Can I ask that you put two separately, please?
Yes, I can. So I'll put number 2 separately. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no.
No.
That's carried. So yeah, Glenn, Aaron, David, and Jamie. And I'll put the whole motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's Aaron. That's carried.
And one abstention.
And one abstention, Dion. Thank you very much. Thank you.